Part 37. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 368. The dark clouds were gathering. Qin Hao raised his head and glanced at the top of his head. He had no idea what was going on. I didn't expect that the sky above the Black Sea would be like this. There must have been some changes below. As he said that, Qin Hao looked at the bottom of the Black Sea. Since he couldn't see clearly below the Black Sea, Qin Hao had the courage to come to the surface of the Black Sea. He closed his eyes and sensed it. There was nothing Qin Hao could do. I found something underneath. I saw Qin Hao put his eyes on the bottom of the Black Sea, and drilled 000 directly under the Black Sea. His consciousness has naturally been expanded. The visual impact in the Black Sea was very great. Affected, Qin Hao naturally had to find a way to use his quasi-immortal emperor strength to look at the surrounding environment. Not long after he arrived in the Black Sea, he discovered that there were some people standing at the door of the mansion in the Black Sea. Isn't that the door to the mysterious cave? Why were they so interested in that place? Could it be because I had missed something in it? Qin Hao was thinking as he gradually approached the cave. At this time, the cave was completely surrounded by the dark ancient palace, and there was no other way to enter. I saw a group of them standing at the door of the cave, and there were still some people inside. Looking for something made Qin Hao feel a trace of sadness in his eyebrows. I have to go down and take a look. I can't let them take things away in advance. With that said, Qin Hao came directly to the entrance of the cave. Qin Hao watched them focus on him and said, judging from the fact that you didn't take action against me, you should be doing something very important inside. The quasi-immortal emperor's strength has exploded, causing the disciples of the Black Ancient Palace to look at each other, knowing that they are no match for Qin Hao. If it weren't for Qin Hao's deliberate refusal to kill, they would have died in front of Qin Hao now. Asahi! Get out of here, I don't want to get my hands dirty. As he said that, Qin Guang put it on them. Everyone in the Dark Ancient Palace saw Qin Hao coming to them, and they were a little confused whether they wanted to leave or not. Qin Hao glanced at them, and a formation was shot out in his hand. Directly suppressed in front of everyone in the Dark Ancient Palace. Blades began to fly in the formation. The disciples of the Dark Ancient Palace were no match for Qin Hao. Seeing them fall in front of him, Qin Hao burst out laughing. None of you are my opponent, I advise you to leave as soon as possible. Since Qin Hao has already played the formation, they did not dare to make any mistakes at all, and they all focused on Qin Hao. If you know someone to save yourself and leave, you won't hold back. Next time when the voice fell, Qin Hao turned his attention to them. They glanced at Qin Hao and said directly to Qin Hao, you are cruel, but we won't be so gentle next time we meet. The sharpness of the formation made them want to retreat, and they all walked out of it. Qin Hao watched the Dark Ancient Palace walk out of the Black Sea, and he was even more confused in his head. He didn't know if the Dark Ancient Palace would take things away. I believe there should be some people inside, so I will sit here and wait for them to come. As he said that, Qin Hao had a confident smile on his face. Favorites and recommendations. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 369. Sitting quietly at the bottom of the Black Sea, he had no other thoughts at all, and his eyes were always on the mansion in front of him. Some people in the Dark Ancient Palace have been inside for a while, and there is still no sign of them coming out. Seeing that they hadn't come out, Qin Hao naturally felt a little excited. In Qin Hao's opinion, they must be searching for something inside, otherwise it would be impossible for them not to come out now. When Qin Hao was about to continue waiting, there was a sudden sound in his ears, and shrimp soldiers and crab generals swam over from not far away and stopped directly in front of Qin Hao. Qin Hao saw them risking their lives to come to him, and his expression immediately became serious. What's wrong with you? Why did you come to the Black Sea? They looked at each other and said directly to Qin Hao Suanwu, it seems like it's not working anymore. Come over quickly and help us take a look. Qin Hao was already a little anxious when he saw the shrimp soldiers and crab generals, and quickly followed them out of the Black Sea. As soon as he came out of the Black Sea, Qin Hao immediately discovered that Emperor Taixuan had descended from above and landed directly in front of Qin Hao. There seems to be some new move in the Dark Ancient Palace. I don't know what they are planning, Emperor Taixuan guessed as he set his sights on Qin Hao. Qin Hao glanced at Emperor Taixuan in front of him and waved his hand directly to Emperor Taixuan. We will know when they do it. We are now just need to defend. Because things were tense at Suanwu, he followed the shrimp soldiers and crab generals directly inside. At this time, Suanwu's turtle shell had already collapsed, so Qin Hao immediately came to Suanwu. There are some problems in the Black Sea. I think Suanwu must have inhaled something. I must ask for medicine as soon as possible, otherwise Suanwu may be hopeless. Qin Hao's voice fell, and the shrimp soldiers and crab generals immediately panicked, not knowing what happened. Qin Hao looked at them and turned their attention to himself, and said softly, don't worry, over there at Xianlei Immortal Island the shepherd boy is my friend, I can let him come over. I saw Qin Hao slowly walking out of the cave, his eyes still on the Black Sea. 0 requesting flowers 0. Although Qin Hao knew that he still had to find a way to seek medicine, he didn't know whether those people under the Black Sea would come out. A few of you will stay on the shore. Once someone comes out, don't do anything to them. Just watch what they take. They looked at Qin Hao's instructions and immediately nodded slightly to Qin Hao. 000. Seeing that everything had been arranged, Qin Hao flew directly towards the end of the Black Sea. In Qin Hao's view, he must find a way to return to Xianlei Island as soon as possible, otherwise he would have no way to get out of it. As soon as he arrived at the edge of the Black Sea, Qin Hao discovered that the shore had been polluted by the Black Sea water, and everything inside was pitch black. It can be seen from the environment on the shore that the Black Sea has been added with some special materials by the Dark Ancient Palace, otherwise Suanwu would not be like this. It seemed that they had no idea what was going on unless they invited the shepherd boy over. With that said, Qin Hao stepped directly on a broken ship and galloped towards the Xianlei Island. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 370. The torrent continued to hit the wooden board. Qin Hao always used his own strength to protect the wooden board from being washed away by the current. Xianlei Island no longer has island spirits causing trouble, so the lake in front of it is naturally safer. Qin Hao took out the Xianlei pharmacopoeia from his clothes and found that there were many refining methods for pills in it. Unfortunately, he did not have the strength to do so. It seems that I have to take the time to learn the 00 method of alchemy. Otherwise, if I encounter problems, I will only have to find Xianlei. Qin Hao said as he spoke. The speed of the board was increased again by Qin Hao, making him hit the Xianlei Island like a cannonball. Due to Qin Hao's anxiety, he had already broken into the Xianlei Island. Inside the island. When Qin Hao just landed on the island, he immediately found some little monsters around him, which made him focus on the little monsters. Get out of your way, I don't want to attack you. The sword blade behind Qin Hao has automatically unsheathed and slowly floated in front of Qin Hao. At this time, the island spirit has been eliminated by himself. These little monsters in front of him are most likely raised by shepherd boys. Naturally, he does not want to do anything to his own people. Although Qin Hao has made his purpose clear, the little monster has no intention of leaving at all. Hey, why do I always encounter such things? As soon as the voice fell, Qin Hao had already fired out a formation, sealing all the little monsters inside. Seeing that the little monsters could no longer harm him, he quietly felt relieved and silently turned his attention to entering the Xianlei island. Qin Hao slowly walked a few steps inside and went straight to the core of the island. I remember that the mansion should be here, but the mansion never appeared. Could it be that I just took a wrong turn? As he said that, Qin Hao walked around the Xianlei island a few times. I don't know how long he walked around there, but he still didn't find where the cave was, which made Qin Hao become more and more suspicious. I want to see where the cave is hidden. As he said this, Qin Hao, the quasi-mortal emperor, had unleashed all his strength and was constantly exploring the island. Soon, Qin Hao understood the key to the matter, which made Qin Hao smile. So that's it, I thought I was on the wrong track. With that said, Qin Hao walked directly to a big tree. According to Qin Hao's perception, the big tree contained very powerful pills, and he did not believe that the big tree secretly took the pills. The only possibility for the big tree to smell like pills is because the big tree is a gate, and everything in front of it is an illusion. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Hao walked directly towards the big tree, as if he was not afraid of hitting the tree at all. When Qin Hao just walked to the big tree, he found that the scene in front of him had changed a lot, which made Qin Hao immediately excited. Sure enough, my guess was correct. The shepherd boy actually set up a 0.8 illusion on the Xianlei island. He was so talented. With that said, Qin Hao had already walked inside. As soon as he stepped into the gate of the cave, some women in white clothes came over. They saw Qin Hao returning to the mansion and immediately said hello to Qin Hao. Let Qin Hao just sit at the door with a carefree attitude. The shepherd boy is next to the holy pool. The woman in white reminded Qin Hao _Fei. Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 371. Squeak, the gate of the holy pool was slowly pushed open by Qin Hao. The shepherd boy was sitting in front of the holy pool in a daze, as if there was something in his head that he couldn't think about. Qin Hao looked at the shepherd boy sitting in front of him and said directly to the shepherd boy, "Did something happen? Is there anything you need my help with?" The shepherd boy raised his head and glanced at Qin Hao, then waved slightly to Qin Hao. "This is an internal issue within our Xianlei island, so don't get involved." Since there are indeed many things going on inside 02 of their Xianlei island, Qin Hao certainly isn't that interested in asking. But Qin Hao must now ask them if they have any medicine to stabilize their minds, otherwise they will be in trouble if something happens to Suan Wu. When Qin Hao told the story about Black Sea Suan Wu, the shepherd boy immediately set his sights on Qin Hao. Black Sea Suan Wu. According to rumors, he seems to be one of the 4 elephants. Qin Hao looked at the shepherd boy as if he knew about this. He slowly nodded slightly to the shepherd boy. "Something happened over there at Suan Wu? I'm afraid ordinary pills have no effect at all. I have to check them myself before they are of any use," the shepherd boy said as he took out his feet from the holy pool. Since the shepherd boy had agreed to follow him, Qin Hao of course had no other ideas and took the shepherd boy directly to the port of Xianlei island. When he looking at the immortal killing formation on the island, he said softly, "They are just some biological spirits, so don't embarrass them." Since Qin Hao had already brought the shepherd boy out, he naturally had no intention of imprisoning them and released them directly. A boat was pushed out from the shore, and the woman in white jumped directly on top of it. "Gone," the shepherd boy said as he drove the yellow ox he was riding to the boat. The woman in white was behind and the 2 of them could sit inside and have a good rest to avoid anything happening. The shepherd boy looked at Qin Hao sitting on his in front of him. He then asked, "What happened to Xian Di? Can you tell me his specific situation so that I can at least be mentally prepared?" Qin Hao glanced at the shepherd boy and directly told him about the Dark Ancient Palace's sneak attack on the Black Sea. The shepherd boy immediately understood one thing or two. "When I get to Suan Wu and take a look, if you ask me to confirm it now, I'm afraid there's nothing I can do. The shepherd boy waved his hand to Qin Hao, indicating that there was nothing he could do now. Soon, their ship had docked next to the Black Sea. Qin Hao saw that they wanted to move the ship into the Black Sea, and asked him to kick it directly, so he kicked the shepherd boy. Where are there so many rules? Now let me swim there as fast as 000 degrees. As he said that, Qin Hao set his sights on the shepherd boy. The shepherd boy saw that Qin Hao had their pharmacopoeia, and his master had reminded him many times, so he dived into the Black Sea. Because Xian Lai Xian the island had the same thing. Of course, Qin Hao had no other plans and took the shepherd boy directly to Suanwu. The shepherd boy saw that Suanwu had no life left at all, and stretched out his hand to put it on Suanwu, as if he wanted to see if Suanwu was still alive. Is there any snoring? There seems to be something wrong. Have you noticed that his defense is gradually disintegrating? The shepherd boy expressed his confusion while checking. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 372. Qin Hao slowly walked to the shepherd boy and stuck his head out to take a look at the tortoise shell on Suanwu. I saw that the tortoise shell on Suanwu's body was already showing signs of falling off, revealing some scarlet flesh inside. Since the shepherd boy had once been against Suanwu, he knew that Suanwu's body was not this color, and he immediately understood that something was wrong with Suanwu. It's just that the turtle shell is about to fall off, so I think it's not a big problem. As he spoke, Qin Hao set his sights on the shepherd boy. The shepherd boy stretched out his hand to inspect Suanwu's body and found that the aura on Suanwu's body had changed. Be careful, I'm afraid Suanwu will turn into something we don't recognize. As he said that, the shepherd boy took a few steps back again and focused his eyes on Suanwu in front of him. When the shepherd boy just took 2 steps back, a roar came from Suanwu's mouth, which made Qin Hao focus on Suanwu. Seeing that the turtle shell on Suanwu's body had completely detached, his eyes were filled with blood, as if he had lost his mind. No, Suanwu will be demonized soon, Qin Hao reminded him. Qin Hao was not willing to let Suanwu become a demon, so he quickly said to the shepherd boy, is there any way to control its demonization? We must not let Suanwu turn against him. The shepherd boy looked at Qin Hao asking questions to him, and his face was filled with emotion. Doubts, he also didn't know how to deal with him. I can only try it, but I can't give it to you. As he said that, the shepherd boy's figure was already suspended in mid-air, and a layer of milky white light came out of his body. Boom, the fist hit Xianshang, causing a roar to come out from Xianwu's mouth. Qin Hao stood nearby, his eyes always on the shepherd boy, and found that the shepherd boy had been wandering around the acupuncture points around Suanwu, which made Qin Hao understand immediately. Then Qin Hao roared directly at the shepherd boy and appeared next to Suanwu, hitting Suanwu with both hands. The shepherd boy watched Qin Hao focus on himself and said directly to Qin Hao, you only need to hit his acupuncture points. Other parts are absolutely not allowed to be touched. Qin Hao understood that acupuncture points are the foundation of a person. Of course he didn't dare to do anything randomly. As the two people sealed all Suanwu's acupoints, Suanwu gradually fell silent in the Black Sea, as if he had lost his life. The shepherd boy saw that Suanwu had fallen into the Black Sea, frowned and said, Suanwu has been sealed in the Black Sea by us now, but this is still not an option. When Suanwu just fell into the Black Sea, the following immediately a whirlpool came up, causing the two of them to immediately take defensive actions, fearing that they would be sucked into it. I saw some shrimps, soldiers, and crabs constantly being rolled out of the whirlpool, letting them rush to the shore with the sea water. Of the ouch, there was a roar from the mouth. The shepherd boy and Qin Hao looked at each other and immediately knew that something was wrong. The shrimp soldiers and crab generals are not as strong as Suanwu. Their resistance is not that strong. The number of shrimp, soldiers, and crab generals is a huge number, which is troublesome, Qin Hao muttered to himself. collecting and recommending. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 373. The shrimps, soldiers, and crabs, one by one, saving their bodies, will emerge from the soil and set their sights on Qin Hao. Originally, their bodies had completely dried up and turned into mummies, but he didn't expect that all their corpses would come out, which really surprised Qin Hao. I saw Qin Hao slowly taking 2 steps forward and focusing on the shrimp soldiers and crab generals in front of him. Do you have any methods to deal with them? As he said that, Qin Hao looked at the shepherd boy. The shepherd boy squinted at them and said with a chuckle, they 000 have returned to dust a long time ago, but their bodies were used by some people. As soon as the shepherd boy's voice fell, Qin Hao immediately understood and asked him to focus on the shepherd boy. Killing immortal formation, open, Qin Hao launched a formation and swept it directly towards them, covering them all inside. The shrimp soldiers and crab generals looked at a formation that enveloped them. They didn't know what was going on and looked at each other. Qin Hao glanced sideways at the shepherd boy and said with a smile, "Aca, since they have already turned into shrimp shells, I don't need to show mercy to them." When the voice fell, Qin Hao directly started to operate the Zuxian killing formation. There were waves of sky thunder bombarding it, all of which hit them. Since they had no souls in the first place, a cloud of lightning appeared as soon as the sky thunder struck. The empty area made Qin Hao focus on it. Hey, there used to be thousands of shrimps, soldiers, and crab generals in the Black Sea, but now it seems that they have all died here, Qin Hao said, shaking his head slightly. The shepherd boy saw that all the shrimps, soldiers, and crabs were dead inside, and he thought everything was fine. Suddenly, the shepherd boy set his sights on the Black Sea. He found that there was a huge hole in the Black Sea. The vortex rises. Sorry, there seems to be something underwater. As he spoke, the shepherd boy took 2 steps forward and focused his eyes on Qin Hao. Qin Hao solidified the Zuxian killing formation and focused his eyes on the water in front of him, as if he wanted to see what was under the water. What is it? The shepherd boy watched Qin Hao focus on him and said directly to Qin Hao, quickly, get rid of them quickly, otherwise we won't be able to deal with this big guy underwater. As soon as the voice fell, Qin Hao directly started the formation violently. The thunder in the sky continued to hit, shaking all the shrimps, soldiers, and crabs into nothingness. Suddenly, a huge black shadow came out of the vortex. A black streak the light hit the formation and directly broke the Zuxian killing formation, allowing Qin Hao to withstand the energy fluctuations from the killing formation. What is it? I didn't see it clearly just now. Qin Hao stood up slowly. He found a familiar smell in the air, which made him focus on the Black Sea. At this time, Qin Hao had already understood that the light just now was from Suanwu. He simply couldn't. There's no way to stop it? It seems that we have to save Suanwu first, otherwise there will be no way to touch others. As he said that, Qin Hao set his sights on the shepherd boy. The shepherd boy understood what Qin Hao said, and the 2 of them just dived directly into the Black Sea. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 374. We all need to be careful. That person was still hiding in the Black Sea just now. I haven't found that person's aura yet. The shepherd boy was still frightened by the attack just now, and kept looking around, as if he wanted to see who was responsible. Qin Hao watched the shepherd boy say this, and said with a smile, I'm afraid you are not familiar with their aura. The aura just now was created by Suanwu. When the shepherd boy heard Qin Hao explain something to him, there was a trace of sadness in his eyebrows. He didn't understand why Suanwu did this. Qin Hao turned his head and glanced at the shepherd boy, and said with a chuckle, "You may not know, Suanwu treats himself. My subordinates are very good, we can't betray Suanwu's trust." Just now Suanwu tried his best to come up, just to remind them not to kill the shrimp soldiers and crab generals. If the shepherd boy was the only one on the beach, I'm afraid the shepherd boy would still attack them directly. And since Jin Hao has seen what Suanwu is going to do, of course he would not take action against them. After all, friendship is still here. The two of them came to the bottom of the Black Sea at the same time, focusing on Suanwu, wanting to see how Suanwu was doing now. At this time, the turtle shell on Suanwu's body, it has completely fallen off, revealing some reddish flesh underneath. "If you need any help from me, just ask me." Jin Hao stood next to Suanwu and kept looking at Suanwu. The shepherd boy glanced at Suanwu in front of him and shook his head slightly. "Hey, it's not that I won't help you now, I really can't help you." I saw the shepherd boy pointing at Suanwu. "Cheng. If we hadn't sealed his acupuncture points, I'm afraid he would be the demon now." Jin Hao saw that Suanwu had woken up, knowing that the shepherd boy would not deceive him. Slowly nodded slightly to the shepherd boy. After glancing around Suanwu, the shepherd boy immediately came up with an idea. "You still remember that the saints in our Xianlai island can purify all evil things, and the evil spirits in Suanwu can also be purified." Jin Hao heard what the shepherd boy said and nodded slightly to the shepherd boy. "Then let's purify him directly. That way there will be no problem." The shepherd boy glanced at Jin Hao and walked slowly to Suanwu. He had already placed one hand on Suanwu, with a trace of sadness between his eyebrows. "Hey, it's not that I don't want to take him away, I'm afraid the two of us together will have no effect." As he said that, the shepherd boy had already exerted a lot of force. Unfortunately, no matter how hard the shepherd boy exerted his force, the Suanwu in front of him was like a sea-fixing needle, which had no effect at all. 000 Chin. Hao looked at the shepherd boy who had already used his strength, and he slowly walked to the shepherd boy and hit Suanwu hard with one hand. "We can't get him to the beach now, so how can we take him away?" As he said that, the shepherd boy shook his head helplessly. Jin Hao saw that the shepherd boy had no choice but to shoot out a formation in his hand. The quasi-mortal emperor's strength had fully exploded and he struck hard on it. Boom, a sound sounded on Suanwu, and he moved slightly from under the Black Sea. Just when they thought Suanwu was about to start moving, a ray of red light burst out from Suanwu's body, suppressing his body under the Black Sea bottom again. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 375. There seems to be another soul in his body, and we cannot move it without authorization. The shepherd boy made some suggestions to Jin Hao. Since the soul in Suanwu's body is not stable, once they release the other side of Suanwu, they may both die in the Black Sea. Suddenly, the shepherd boy seemed to have thought of something and immediately then he set his sights on Jin Hao. "I remember that our Xian 000 pharmacopoeia has instructions on that. I wonder if you can lend me the pharmacopoeia." The shepherd boy stretched out his hand and placed it in front of Jin Hao. Since the shepherd boy was originally from Xianlai Island, Jin Hao certainly had no other ideas. He took out the Xianlai pharmacopoeia from his clothes and placed it directly in front of the shepherd boy. "Remember to return it to me later. Most of the pills in the Xianlai pharmacopoeia have been passed down. If you want this book, it will no longer have much effect." Jin Hao has understood something from the saint's mouth. Of course he has no other ideas. He saw the shepherd boy rummaging through the Xianlai pharmacopoeia for a while, as if he had been thinking about it all the time, and his hands never let go. Signs. "I remember that there is something specifically recorded about this matter, and we can directly use the above method to deal with it." As he spoke, the shepherd boy flipped through page after page. Since the Xianlai pharmacopoeia has been lost for a long time, the shepherd boy couldn't remember which side it was on. Fortunately, The Xianlei pharmacopoeia was not very thick to begin with. How long did it take to search? The shepherd boy pointed to the line above and said, finally found it, Wu should be one of the 4 elephants. Qin Hao took the pharmacopoeia from the shepherd boy's hand and found that there was a detailed description on it. The 4 elephants' divine beasts all possess him. In order to achieve immortal bodies, they stored part of them in the 4 elephants' valley. They can use that to awaken their consciousness. Qin Hao looked at the records in the Xianlei pharmacopoeia and immediately set his sights on Suan Wu. At this time, Qin Hao had already understood that he could only truly save Suan Wu by finding the 4 elephants' valley. Do you know where the 4 elephants' valley is? Qin Hao focused his eyes on the shepherd boy, as if waiting for his answer. The shepherd boy glanced at Qin Hao, his face slightly embarrassed. I had only heard of that place in legends and had never thought that it actually existed. The shepherd boy said his thoughts honestly. Qin Hao was naturally a little anxious when he saw that the shepherd boy didn't know where the 4 elephants' valley was. The dark ancient temple was right above their heads. Once they got out of it, there is no way for the Black Sea to form a defensive force. You guard Suan Wu here while I go up to find Emperor Taixuan, hoping he can know where the 4 elephants' valley is. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Hao had already emerged from the Black Sea. All the people from the immortal domain were stationed at 0.8 on a small island, in order to prevent people from the dark ancient palace from escaping. When Emperor Taixuan looked at Qin Hao he emerged from the Black Sea and greeted him with a smile. How is it? Have you rescued Suan Wu? Qin Hao watched Emperor Taixuan come to him, and slowly waved his hand to Emperor Taixuan. Do any of you know about the 4 elephants' valley? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, after thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 376. 4 Elephants Divine Valley. If I'm not mistaken, it should be deep in the jungle. I don't know why you ask. Emperor Taixuan didn't understand why Qin Hao asked this, so he naturally wanted to ask clearly. Qin Hao glanced at Emperor Taixuan and sighed. Suan Wu has been injured by the dark ancient palace. Now we only have to wake up Suan Wu. Only then can we take him out of the Black Sea. Emperor Taixuan lowered his head and glanced at Black Sea, a little surprised that Suan Wu could be injured. It is rumored that the 4 Elephant Divine Valley is the place where the 4 elephant divine beasts left their consciousness, and there are many dangers in it. Emperor Taixuan told the rumors about the Valley of the 4 Elephants God. Although Emperor Taixuan knew where the Valley of the 4 Elephants God 02 was, it was a pity that he had never been to that place. Qin Hao looked at Emperor Taixuan and gave him some guidance. Direction, and immediately nodded slightly to Emperor Taixuan. You guys stay here for now, I'll go get Suan Wu's things and come back. Since Qin Hao has decided to leave, Emperor Taixuan has no other choice but to let Qin Hao leave. The 4 Elephants Divine Valley is in the deepest part of the misty forest, and there is a valley inside. That valley is called the 4 Elephants Divine Valley. Hey, I really don't know why I would do such a thing, and I don't know why Suan Wu fell into the trap. Qin Hao kept muttering in his mouth, and his body was suppressed by an invisible airflow. Falling from the air to the ground, Qin Hao found that there was smoke everywhere in front of him, which made him understand immediately. Misty forest? I don't know if I can get out of it. With that said, Qin Hao had already walked into the jungle. Because Qin Hao was always worried that he was losing his direction, the quasi-mortal emperor maintained his strength and shook away all the smoke on both sides. He focused on the trees in front of him. Qin Hao didn't know what was strange about misty forest, so it was naturally difficult to defend. Qin Hao walked a short distance inside, and there was no sound in his ears. The misty forest should confuse the eyes and create a visual gap between us. Qin Hao thought about it in his head and guessed the nature of the fog. Unfortunately, No matter how Qin Hao guessed, he couldn't get out of it. Boom! He hit the tree trunk next to him with a sharp knife, which was equivalent to leaving a mark on the tree trunk. Do I keep running in circles? I always feel like something is wrong, Qin Hao said as he walked towards the jungle again. As soon as he disappeared into the jungle, Qin Hao found a familiar shadow in front of him, and Qin Hao slowly walked to the tree trunk. When Qin Hao looked at the tree trunk, the shadow of a knife, with a deep look of helplessness in his eyes. I've been running around in circles all this time. What kind of place is the misty forest? Qin Hao once tried to wrap himself with energy and use the strength of the quasi-immortal emperor to guide him. However, the foggy forest was not afraid of magic at all, so Qin Hao had no way to use the strength of the quasi-immortal emperor to guide him. At this time, Qin Hao already had some retreating. He wanted to see if the shepherd boy and Emperor Taixuan had any other options. After all, he had fallen inside. But Qin Hao just took a few steps back and found that he had no way out. It turned out that the road into the misty forest has disappeared. Too bad, there is no road. Qin Hao swallowed a mouthful of saliva and scanned the surrounding environment. Collecting and recommending. Fantasy. After thousands of years of seclusion, I became a saint. Author, love to eat chicken legs. Chapter 377. Snap, snap, the soles of his feet stepped on the slightly moist soil. Qin Hao had been in the misty forest for quite some time. Raising his head and taking a look at the environment in front of him, Qin Hao knew that he didn't know how long he would stay there. He has returned to the starting point 5 or 6 times, and Qin Hao feels a little desperate every time. Sitting under the tree trunk, Qin Hao closed his eyes and took a good rest. The strength of the quasi-immortal emperor had already blossomed. Although there was fog everywhere in the misty forest, it did not affect the consciousness released by Qin Hao. He could still wander around in it. Suddenly, a sound came from Qin Hao's ears, making Qin Hao's eyes suddenly widen. Got up. His spiritual consciousness was summoned back by Qin Hao, and he immediately focused on the two people in front of him, making Qin Hao a little curious about their identities. There are no treasures in the misty forest, and most people have no desire to go there. The two people in front of them seemed not to be afraid of anything and walked straight into the misty forest, holding a small light yellow bee in their hands. Squinting at the little bee, Qin Hao immediately understood guiding bee. It seems that they are here well prepared. Passing through the misty forest is the Four Elephant Valley, and the two of them are most likely going to the Four Elephant Valley of Kamiya. Since Qin Hao didn't know the identities of the two of them, Qin Hao followed them secretly, surrounded by the power of the quasi-immortal emperor. For Qin Hao, he just needs to take him out by himself. It's a pity that Qin Hao's ideas are relatively simple, but the reality is much worse. The two of them had just walked inside. He sneered and said, "You don't have to follow us, we have already discovered you." When the voice fell, Qin Hao looked at him and attacked him. Two pure black spells hit, and Qin Hao suddenly widened his eyes. "Are you from the dark ancient palace? Why did you come here?" The two of them saw that Qin Hao had recognized their identities, and coldly he said in a loud voice, "Are you someone sent here from the immortal realm? I think your purpose is not simple." Since they have seen the strength of the other party, Qin Hao will naturally not let them go. Killing immortal formation, open, a loud shout rang out from Qin Hao's mouth, and a formation on his hands was knocked out. The two people in the dark ancient palace watched Qin Hao attack them, and their strength was naturally released. They didn't want Qin Hao to defeat them with just a few words. Unfortunately, Qin Hao had already launched the Zuxian killing formation, so they had naturally lost their chance. If it weren't for Qin Hao's fear that the guiding bee would be killed by him, he would have summoned the thunder a long time ago. "Hand over your road bees, or you will die here," Qin Hao said, with thunder flashing on his fingertips. "What do you want?" The two of them looked at each other. Once we hand over the guide B to you, I'm afraid we are not far from death. When their voices fell, Chin Hao had already found their loophole. Two sharp blades were inserted into their throats, causing the guide beast to immediately escape from their hands. Underscore.